Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. As I mentioned before, we've been trying a few different things. This is going to be another, not really a book review because this isn't really a book. It's just a review of something I've been reading that I found interesting that I wanted to share with you guys. I believe that books and different things come to us for a reason. That being said, I got this book. I guess it's more of a transcript from my tanta. Tanta, it means aunt in Dutch, and she got it from my oom, who is my uncle. And my uncle is a Chinook Native American. The Chinook tribe's an interesting tribe. They're not recognized, but they were a huge tribe in this area in the Puget Sound, and most of the Native Americans spoke Chinook. They called it Chinook jargon. It was a trade language. The Chinooks lived on the Columbia River and were basically middlemen for the natives from eastern Washington trading with the coastal natives. So they're a powerful tribe. Their language was wide spoken, and it's really weird that they're not a recognized tribe, a pretty big injustice. They had to merge with another tribe. So that being said, I don't know where my uncle picked this up, but this is a manuscript, and it was printed in 2005, but it says it's from University of Washington, and it said it was published in 1927 by Arthur C. Ballard. And this manuscript from 1927, it was this anthropologist professor going around and collecting stories from different tribal elders before they passed away, which I imagine my uncle got this because he's, again, the Chinook tribe. It does have some members and they meet annually, but there is not that many members. He probably wanted to read it to learn some stories or whatever and try to pass those on to his tribe. But that being said, it was tribes from all over, not just the Chinook, but tribes all up and down the Columbia, and even tribes up here where I live in the Puget Sound area. Now, there's a couple of things I found really interesting. One, it is kind of hard to read because, again, it's written at a college level from 1927, and it's a anthropology student trying to interpret Native American legends. So a couple things really stuck in my mind. I'm interested in cryptids. There is a lot of stories in there about giants, and I'm really interested in developing a story about giants. Being of European descent, this area has a rich tradition of Paul Bunyan and Babe and the Blue Ox, and there's multiple legends in the logging communities here about Paul Bunyan and Babe and the Blue Ox. But relating to this manuscript, the Native Americans had multiple stories that a lot of the mountains and big rocks where they were at were giants that got rooted in place for one purpose or another. So I found that really interesting. The second interesting thing I found in there was there's a lot of legends about little people. And I know this is not necessarily politically correct, but they do use this terminology, and I've heard Native Americans use it. They call them like stick Indians, and it's basically like a small person, like maybe a leprechaun or a gnome would be the equivalent in European society. And they can either be mischievous and like chase fish away from native nets, or they can be helpful and chase fish into native nets. So I found that really interesting. I've been really interested in developing a story about little people legends in the region. I had a Native American friend tell me, though, that it is bad luck to try to investigate these little people, and they can get offended and you can kind of be cursed. So that's kind of put me off on there. So I found that interesting. The other thing, so this was written in 1927, I believe, and before they really had a lexicon for Sasquatch. So there's a lot of references to ogres in there, and I assume that the ogres were the white people translation for Sasquatches before they had that lexicon for Sasquatches. So that these stories predate Sasquatch, but there's multiple stories referring to ogres snatching up people, and people, these ogres are kind of mischievous, and the gods kind of battling these ogres in different aspects. So I found that really interesting. I don't know if the ogres are Sasquatches or not, but I assume Native Americans did not have ogres in their mythology, and it was probably Sasquatch. That's my assumption, at least. The other interesting thing, and I've come across this before, there's legends in there about how different animals got different aspects. So like how the beaver got its flat tail, how the woodpecker got its red crest, and stuff like that. But there is also stories in there where the animals are people. And so I'm not sure if when Native people go on spirit quests, usually they'll get like an animal name. And it would appear to me that some of these stories are how these animals got their different aspects, their different features. But then there's other parts where it seems like different animals, maybe it was a famous person is marrying a member of another tribe that has another animal name, but there's no delineation. So if you went on a spirit quest, your name was, let's say your name was Jake, and you go on a spirit quest and you have a vision of a ram, well, then from now on, maybe your name will be like, runs with ram or headbutts rams or whatever. You're going to have that those attributes. That's now your spirit animal. You share some common traits with it. And I think that's what those stories were alluding to, because then these different animals are intermarrying and getting into different mischief. And like I said, maybe it was a way to talk about famous heroes. This is Coyote, but it's not Coyote the animal. It's Coyote the famous warrior that did all this stuff. And usually they'll be like vanquishing foes. Again, a lot of times it's ogres. They'll be killing ogres or fighting. They call it like the maker of change or something. The change maker appears a lot in there. So that was really interesting to think about how that relates. The other interesting thing, which I did learn, was another way people would go on spirit quests that I had never heard of. And I actually really like this, but it does sound dangerous. So there's a lot of reference in there. I think there's 3 times that book talks about different heroes going on spirit quest by diving down deep into spiritual pools. So I knew that was a common spirit quest practice, where you go and try to find a sacred pool and bathe in the sacred pool and live by the sacred pool and pray by the sacred pool and chant by the sacred pool and fast by the sacred pool until you have a vision. But what I didn't know is that they would dive down until they essentially blacked out. And then if you have a near-death experience kind of like that and you're underwater, time slows down. Like, I love swimming in water. I swim almost every day in just the ocean, waterfalls, lakes, whatever, and I love diving down, and it does slow down. So these natives in these stories would find these sacred pools, and they had a couple that were referenced here in the Puget Sound, which I've never swam in. Maybe I should try to find them. So they'd swim out in these pools, and it sounds like mostly it was in the ocean, but I have heard other stories where it was pools in the mountains, waterfall pools or lakes. And so they dive down until they blacked out. And then they would have a vision quest of going, and they called it the Longhouse of the Dead. And their ancestors would speak to them, or, you know, some of these spirit guardians might come to them and grant them special powers afterwards. And they, you know, sometimes they had a couple times it references somebody there with them. And so they go down there and black out and float to the surface, and the person would come and get them. And then the hero would tell them what they saw in their visions or whatever. And they a lot of times have these special powers granted to them. They'd be a better hunter, or they'd be a better medicine person, or whatever their thing was. So that's really interesting. But there was several stories where they swam down and they died. So that is the thing, you know, these near-death experiences can induce this spirit quest type thing, but you know, it's dangerous. It's a chance that you will not survive. So, you know, I've kind of been messing around a little bit. This video is going to come out after the Ranger Hole video, but at the Ranger Hole, I was swimming down. And again, I was with my son and my friend, so I wasn't trying to swim down until I was blacking out. But, you know, I held my breath for about a minute swimming down, and I came up, and I was definitely feeling those effects, the lightheadedness, the like black, I couldn't see straight. So imagine if you held your breath for 2 minutes under there, how far you would go to that spirit realm and what kind of visions you'd have. So really interesting stuff. I don't know if I'd recommend this book unless you're really niche. I don't even know if it's in print. So again, it's called Some Tales of the Southern Puget Sound Salish by author C. Ballard. There's not very many pictures. The stories are hard to follow. So unless you're into really niche stuff like I am, I would not recommend it. If you are, you know, give it a look. And thanks for watching. I got to end this video, otherwise I'll just talk forever. But give me a thumbs up, give me a like, give me a subscribe. Let me know which format you like. You like the adventure videos? You like my book videos? Do you like me reviewing book videos? And I'll see you guys next time.